In this video, I will point out 5 types of BBQ sauce you should avoid at all costs. Not because they taste bad, but because that familiar sweetness, glossy color, and smoky smell may be turning an ordinary cookout into a burden on your body. And the good news is I will also give you 3 BBQ sauces that are truly more trustworthy, the kinds that still keep the good flavor without relying on thick sugar, fake color, or artificial smoke. You just saw a BBQ sauce recall because it contained an ingredient that was not listed on the label. And you also saw another reality: industrial sugar like high fructose corn syrup has become too big a part of what we eat every day. A sweet, rich, glossy layer of sauce can contain more sugar than you think, along with additives, preservatives, and artificial smoke flavor. And in the end, what you thought was only making the food taste better becomes the thickest layer of additives in the entire meal. When a bottle of BBQ sauce is no longer a condiment but becomes a layer of disguise over grilled meat. When it comes to BBQ, most of us are looking in the wrong place. We fear the meat getting charred at the edges. We fear charcoal smoke. We fear fat dripping into the fire and rising back up as toxic smoke. And yes, those things have a reason to be worrying. Meat grilled at high temperatures can create compounds that are not good for the body, especially when it is blackened or grilled for too long. But there is one thing that is often added at the very end, spread over the surface of the food making. So does the meat look glossier, smell better, taste richer, and also making it easier for us to let our guard down. That is the bottle of BBQ sauce. The problem is that consumers often do not see sauce as a main part of the meal. It is just a little seasoning, a thin brush of flavor, a quick squeeze before eating, a little bit for dipping on the side of the plate. But in many industrial sauce bottles, that little bit can contain concentrated sugar corn, syrup, salt, preservatives, artificial color, fake smoke flavor, and ingredients that make your liver, gut, and cardiovascular system work harder than you think. Danger does not always come from something that smells strange or tastes unpleasant. Sometimes it comes from the very thing that is too tasty, too familiar, too easy to use. A sticky sweet sauce that makes you want to brush on more. A glossy reddish-brown color that makes ribs look more appealing. An artificial smoke smell that makes you think you are eating real BBQ. And at that moment, the sauce bottle is no longer a condiment. It becomes a layer of disguise. So this list is not just about which bottle is bad. I will show clearly how each brand is hitting your body. Some hit your blood sugar, some hit your gut, some hit your blood pressure, and some hit your trust in the product label. And we will start with a name so familiar that many American families still put it right on the dinner table without thinking twice. Number 1, Sweet Baby Ray's. The moment you squeeze out Sweet Baby Ray's, you can see the problem. It is thick, glossy, heavily sweet, clinging to the meat like a shiny brown coat. It sticks to your lips, sticks to your hands, and if you brush it over ribs while they are still hot, that layer of sauce covers them beautifully. I understand that feeling. It really does look good. But that sticky sweetness is the first sign that you are not just adding flavor. You are adding sugar. Sweet Baby Ray's needs no introduction. It shows up in backyards, family parties, weekend grills, and even in meals where you think just a little sauce. But the word sweet on the bottle almost says the whole problem by itself. People trust it because it is familiar, because many households use it because its flavor has almost become a memory of American BBQ. And when something becomes too familiar, we often stop asking questions. Turn the label around, and the story is no longer so comfortable. Sweet Baby Ray's has high fructose corn syrup, white sugar molasses, and pineapple juice concentrate. To put it plainly, this is not just BBQ sauce. This is a thick layer of sugar made to smell smoky, look beautiful, and have just enough thickness to cling to the meat and make you want to brush on another layer. Just 2 tablespoons have about 17 grams of sugar. That sounds small, but try to remember a real BBQ meal in real life. How many people actually measure exactly 2 tablespoons and then stop? You brush it on chicken. You add more to ribs while grilling. You dip a little extra on the side, then that meat comes with bread, potatoes, soda, or beer. By the end of the meal, what you thought was only a condiment has quietly become a major hit to your blood sugar. I do not hate good flavor. I just do not like the way that flavor makes you forget your body still has to process the rest. That sweetness does not stop on your tongue. It pulls your liver into the work. It forces your pancreas to work. It makes your blood sugar rise quickly and then drop, leaving behind a heavy feeling thirst fatigue, and in the long run, the story of belly fat, fatty liver, and metabolic problems. If you still like this flavor, do not turn it into your main dipping sauce. Pour it onto a spoon first instead of squeezing it straight onto the meat, because squeezing straight from the bottle is the easiest way to overdo it. Use it as a small topping. Better yet, switch to a lower sugar kind one that gets sweetness from vegetables, or make a simple version yourself with tomato paste apple, cider vinegar, paprika, and a little real honey. Sweet Baby Ray's does not just make the meat sweeter. It makes you forget how much sugar you are eating. Number 2, Publix BBQ Sauce. Some sauce bottles make you worry because of sugar. Some make you worry because of salt. But Publix deserves to appear on this list for a more chilling reason. Sometimes the problem is not what is written on the label, but what is not written there. With a major supermarket brand like Publix, many people's natural reflex is to trust it. I understand that too. You walk into a familiar store, see a product carrying the supermarket's own name, and naturally a feeling appears in your mind. They probably control this carefully. It is probably safer than strange labels. There is probably no need to inspect it too closely. But that trust is only worth something when the label tells the truth. What makes Publix BBQ sauce a name worth talking about is the recall because it contained undeclared anchovy. For someone without an allergy, that may sound normal at first. So what if there is anchovy? It is just a small hidden ingredient. But for someone with a fish allergy, that small amount can be the line between a normal meal and an emergency reaction. And this is not an imaginary concern. Publix was once recalled because it had undeclared anchovy, a small detail on paper, but one that could become a major risk for someone with a fish allergy. The scariest part is that you almost cannot detect it yourself by taste. This sauce still has the familiar salty sweet flavor. It still has the normal reddish-brown color. It still smells like BBQ. It does not give off an obvious fish smell to warn you. It does not change color to signal danger. You dip a piece of chicken, brush it onto a rib, and think you are eating exactly what is written on the bottle. And that is the kind of risk I find scarier than sugar. Because with sugar, at least you still have a chance to see the number. With salt, you can still read the sodium. But with an undeclared allergen, consumers are stripped of the right to protect themselves. If your body reacts, it does not react gently just because the mistake is on the label. It can still develop hives, swollen lips, and itchy throat, trouble breathing, low blood pressure, even anaphylaxis. For older adults, people taking heart or blood pressure medication, or people with underlying respiratory conditions, a strong allergic reaction can become much more complicated. I am not saying you have to fear every product with a supermarket label, but I do think after incidents like this, we should be a little less naive. If you or someone in your household has a food allergy check, recalls regularly keep the habit of reading the allergen section. Prioritize products with clear disclosures and avoid sauces with overly complicated formulas if you are not sure what is inside. For households with someone who has allergies, I would also recommend one very simple thing. Do not just look at the front of the bottle. Take a photo of the allergen label when you buy it, because if the formula or packaging changes, even once something you once trusted is safe may no longer be safe. A sauce bottle does not have to be extremely toxic to be dangerous. Sometimes all it needs is one missing warning line. But if the previous risk came from something that was not written out, the next name is dangerous in the opposite way. It clearly writes what you want to hear, then makes you pay for it with your own gut. Number 3, Hughes. Some people quit traditional BBQ sauce because they are afraid of sugar. They pick up a sugar-free bottle and feel like they have just made a slightly smarter choice. No sugar. Less guilt. It seems more reasonable than Sweet Baby Ray's. If you are trying to lose weight, control your blood sugar, or simply want less sweetness in your BBQ meal, that reflex is very easy to understand. It sounds reasonable until you remember that your body is not only about blood sugar. With Hughes, the problem is not a direct hit to the liver and pancreas like high-sugar sauce bottles. It lies in something quieter, harder to measure right away on the label, but something you can feel very clearly after the meal: your gut. Hughes uses sucralose to create sweetness and xanthan gum to create thickness. One sweetens, one thickens. It does not sound too scary, but if you are someone with a sensitive stomach, someone who gets bloated easily, has trouble digesting, or keeps feeling strange in the stomach, after eating diet foods, you will understand why this sauce is not as simple as the words sugar-free on the front label. The sweetness of Hughes is fairly clean, but a little cold. It is not like the round sweetness from tomatoes, molasses, or vegetables. The sweet aftertaste lingers. The texture is thick. It clings to the meat, and it still looks very BBQ, but it feels a little artificial compared with a sauce cooked from real ingredients. And precisely because it has no sugar, you can easily give yourself permission to use more. You brush on more, dip more, think it is fine. But your gut does not read the slogan on the bottle. Your gut only reacts to what goes down inside. For some people, artificial sweeteners and thickeners can cause bloating, a dull stomachache, loose stools, or a feeling that digestion is not smooth. For older adults, the gut microbiome is already more sensitive and the ability to adapt is also weaker. A BBQ meal is already heavy in meat, fat, and salt. If you add a sauce that irritates the gut, the problem may not appear while you are eating, but a few hours later, your body will remind you. To be fair, Hughes still has a place for people who truly need to cut sugar, but it should not become an excuse to brush it on freely just because the front of the bottle says sugar-free. Try a small amount first, pour it onto a small spoon, eat a moderate amount, then pay attention to your stomach after that meal. If you feel bloated, uncomfortable, or unsettled, switch to a more naturally low sugar sauce instead of a sauce made intensely sweet with artificial sweetener. No sugar does not automatically mean no problem. Number 4, open pit. Did you know that the glossy reddish-brown color on grilled ribs may not come from real tomatoes, but from synthetic color? With open pit BBQ sauce, that shiny coating may very well come from industrial coloring. And that is why I do not see this sauce bottle as a normal condiment. I see it as a very small test. Are you choosing real flavor, or are you being pulled along by color before you even get to read the label? Buyers often think the color of BBQ sauce comes from tomatoes, peppers, molasses, smoke, and grilling spices. In other words, they believe that reddish-brown color is a sign of rich flavor. But if a sauce bottle needs color additives like red 40, yellow 6, and blue 1 to look appealing, then the question is no longer does it taste good, the question is why does a sauce need to be colored to look like real food? And that is where open pit bothers me. It makes your eyes believe first, while your body has to process it later. When you bite into it, everything is still easy to forgive. Sweet and salty, a little sharp, quickly coating the meat. Glossy texture, even color, very BBQ looking. But that perfectly even shine is exactly what makes me think we need to be careful. Real food is usually not that perfect. Real tomatoes, real peppers, real spices usually create a color with depth, variation, and unevenness. But when a layer of sauce has a color that is too stable, too eye-catching, too much like a coat of paint, I think you should turn the bottle around. I do not want to turn one spoonful of sauce into a scare story because the real problem lies somewhere else. It builds up too quietly. A little artificial color today. A little sugar, salt, and preservatives tomorrow. Then all of it goes along with grilled meat, fat, smoke bread, and soda. Your liver and gut do not see beautiful color. They only see another unnecessary layer of additives to process. For older adults or people who are already sensitive to processed foods, that layer of additives can add to the feeling of heaviness, thirst, indigestion, or a quiet inflammatory reaction that is not easy to point to after the meal. The way to handle this is very simple. Do not let the color of the sauce decide for you. If you see phrases like artificial color FD and C red 40 yellow 6 or blue 1, consider putting the bottle down. Choose one whose color comes from tomato paste, paprika peppers, real spices, or make a simple portion of sauce at home yourself. A piece of meat does not have to shine like an advertisement to taste good. The more a sauce bottle needs to be colored to look appealing, the more you should ask what it is trying to hide. But if open pit makes me suspicious because of the color layer that looks too beautiful on the meat, the final name is dangerous in a much more everyday way. It does not need bright colors to fool you. It only needs to be convenient enough, familiar enough, and salty, sweet enough for you to overuse it without realizing how much extra sodium your body is carrying. Number 5, French's BBQ sauce. French's is dangerous because it does not need to shock you. It does not have a strange color like open pit. It also does not come in with a sugar-free label. Like Hughes, it just sits there, very familiar, very easy to use, very convenient. You squeeze a line onto chicken, add a little more onto ribs, dip a little extra on the side of the plate, and because it does not feel too much right away, it is very easy to forget that every squeeze carries weight. With French's, the biggest problem is sodium. Just 2 tablespoons have about 460 milligrams of sodium. That number does not sound too dramatic by itself, but BBQ in real life never stands by itself. You eat it with pre-marinated meat, sausage bread, potatoes, canned foods, soda, and sometimes a few other salty dishes on the table. By then, the sauce bottle is no longer a side part. It becomes a sweet, salty layer sitting on top of everything you have already eaten. The flavor of French's makes this very easy to overlook. Clearly salty and sweet, a little smoky, a little sticky, and the moment it touches meat, it makes the food seem richer right away. But that same kind of flavor can also bring thirst after the meal, a heavy stomach, dry mouth, and for anyone who has to watch their blood pressure, heart, or kidneys, this is not a small thing. I do not want to turn one sauce bottle into the only villain on the dinner table, but French's represents a very ordinary kind of risk. Not a shock, but a habit of overusing it. You do not see yourself as eating salty. You only see the food tasting better, but your body still has to process that sodium. Especially as you get older, your kidneys filter more slowly and your blood pressure becomes easier to disrupt. Beyond sodium, this sauce also has sugar molasses, sodium benzoate, and artificial smoke flavor. Using a little once may not be frightening, but if this is the default sauce bottle in your refrigerator showing up again and again at BBQ meals, then it is quietly turning convenience into pressure on your body. The most practical way is not to panic and give up BBQ. Change the way you use it first. Pour it onto a small spoon or into a small bowl instead of squeezing it straight onto the meat. Thin it out with a little apple cider vinegar tomato paste or real spices if you still like a bold flavor. And if you are monitoring your blood pressure, choose a lower sodium option instead of only looking for the bottle that feels familiar. French's does not get your attention with one obvious danger sign. It is dangerous because it is too convenient, too familiar, and too easy to make you eat more salt without ever calling it salt. But BBQ sauce does not have to be a trap of sugar, salt, fake color, and additives. There are still sauce bottles that keep the good flavor without making your body pay too high a price. Now I will move on to 3 more trustworthy brands, names that are more transparent, easier to understand, and more deserving of a place in a healthier BBQ meal. Number 1, Primal Kitchen. After 5 sauce bottles that make you question everything from sugar, salt, and color to allergy labels, Primal Kitchen brings a very different feeling. Not the kind of clean that only sits in a few pretty words on the front of the package, but the kind of clean where you turn the label around and do not feel like you have to strain your eyes decoding every line. To me, that is what matters. A decent BBQ sauce should not require you to have a chemistry degree just to understand what you are brushing onto your meat. The strength of Primal Kitchen lies in the fact that it does not try to make BBQ sauce by piling on more sugar. It does not rely on high fructose corn syrup to create thick sweetness. It does not need artificial color to make the meat look overly glossy. It also does not need fake smoke flavor to trick you into thinking this is a real grilled taste. Instead, its flavor moves in a lighter, cleaner, more spice-forward direction. There is a deep tang from balsamic vinegar. There is a slight sharpness from Dijon mustard. There is cinnamon chipotle and plant-based spices that create a warm, lightly smoky feeling, but not a harsh one. If you are used to a sweet sauce that sticks to your lips and hands like candy coating on ribs, Primal Kitchen may feel a little strange at first. But that strangeness is a good thing. It reminds your taste buds that BBQ sauce does not have to be syrupy sweet to taste good. For people who are managing blood sugar belly fat, fatty liver, or simply do not want a BBQ meal to turn into a hit to their metabolism, this is a choice worth considering, because when you remove the thick layer of sugar from the formula, your body also has less of a burden to process after the meal. The liver has it easier. The pancreas is not pulled into the work as aggressively. The feeling after the meal is also more comfortable, not the kind where it is too sweet, and then you feel thirsty and heavy. I like Primal Kitchen not because it is perfect for everyone, but because it understands the proper role of a sauce bottle. It should make the food taste better, not turn itself into the most worrying part of the plate. If you want to use it with grilled chicken, lean ribs, grilled vegetables, or as a thin finishing brush at the end instead of drowning the food from the beginning. When the sauce is clean enough, you do not need to use too much to hide the food underneath. Primal Kitchen shows that real BBQ sauce does not have to be syrupy sweet, glossy, or heavy with fake smoke to be appealing. Number 2, true-made foods. When it comes to BBQ sauce with truly good flavor, the kind you remember after one tastes, the kind that works with ribs, works with chicken, and even does not feel out of place brushed onto a burger. True Made Foods is a name I would place very high in the group worth keeping. Because the good thing about this sauce is not that it tries to act diet. It does not come in with that dry feeling of this is the healthy choice, so you have to put up with it a little. No. True Made Foods still understands one very basic thing: if BBQ sauce does not taste good, no one will use it for long. What is worth talking about is that its sweetness does not come from white sugar or high fructose corn syrup, like many industrial sauce bottles. It gets its sweetness from applesauce and vegetables like butternut squash and carrots. That may sound small, but when you eat it, you can feel the difference. The sweetness is softer, gentler, not the sharp kind of sweetness that sticks in your throat and makes you keep drinking water after the meal. I like this kind of sweetness because it does not try to overpower the meat. It goes with the food. Tomatoes, black pepper, cayenne pepper, and vegetables create a layer of flavor with more depth, more warmth, more realness. You still get a clear BBQ feeling, still enough richness so the ribs do not taste bland, but without the feeling that you have just coated grilled meat in a layer of candy. For people who still like sweet, BBQ sauce, True Made Foods is a very practical choice. It does not force you to switch to something too unfamiliar. You still get sweetness, still get thickness, still get that satisfying feeling, but instead of going in the direction of industrial sweetness, it pulls you closer to sweetness with a real source. Of course, more real does not mean you should flood the plate with it. The best way to use it is still to brush on a moderate layer at the end when grilling chicken, use a little with a burger, or dip lightly with ribs. When a sauce has decent flavor, you do not need to use too much to hide the food underneath. True Made Foods does not force your taste buds to give up BBQ. It simply reminds your taste buds what real sweetness is. Number 3, Fody Original. If you're someone who easily gets bloated or has trouble digesting food, especially after eating sauces with onion, garlic, or strong spices, then Fody Original is a name worth paying attention to. Not everyone who eats BBQ only worries about sugar or salt. Some people worry about their stomach. Eating feels fun, but a few hours later the bloating comes, the heavy feeling, the burping, the discomfort as if the whole meal is still sitting there in the stomach. And the most frustrating part is that many times you do not know whether the culprit is the meat, the seasoning, or the very layer of sauce you just dipped on the side of the plate. Fody is worth keeping because it was made for that group of people. This sauce is known for its low FODMAP direction with no onion and no garlic, making it more suitable for those with sensitive stomachs, easy bloating trouble, digesting, or those living with IBS. To me, this is a very practical kind of safe. Not safe in a vague way written on the package, but safe because it reduces the exact things that often make a sensitive gut react. The flavor of Fody is also not as bland as many people might imagine when they hear low FODMAP. It has a light tang from apple cider vinegar, a little warmth from horseradish, and a moderate sweet finish from raw cane sugar and molasses. When you bite into it, it is not harsh. After you swallow, there is no sticky feeling in the throat. It is lighter, cleaner tasting, and it does not try to cover the meat with an overly heavy layer of sauce. What I like is that Fody does not turn people with sensitive stomachs into people who have to sit outside the fun. You can still eat grilled chicken ribs burgers or grilled vegetables with a sauce that clearly tastes like BBQ. It simply leaves out more of the ingredients that can make your stomach protest. Of course, Fody is not a license to use it carelessly. If your stomach is sensitive, start with a small amount. Pour it into a small bowl dip, just enough, then pay attention to your body after the meal. When you find a sauce that agrees with your stomach, do not ruin it by using too much. Fody Original does not try to impress with strong sweetness or glossy color. It is trustworthy because it understands one very real thing for many people: a truly good BBQ meal is one you can finish while your stomach still stays calm. After all the names I just shared, there is still a lot of debate around which BBQ sauce bottle is worth avoiding and which one is truly worth keeping. Some people will prioritize low sugar. Some worry about sodium. Others just need a sauce that does not make their stomach uncomfortable after eating. And I think that is very normal because everyone's body does not react the same way. But from now on, do not choose BBQ sauce just because the bottle looks familiar. The sweetness is easy to enjoy, the color looks appealing, or the brand sounds big. Look more closely where the sugar comes from, where the color comes from, how high the sodium is, and whether the ingredient list is truly easy to understand. Leave a comment and share your opinion. I am always waiting for healthy debates because only that way can we move closer to the truth and better choices for ourselves. And if you found this list useful, do not forget to share it with your loved ones. Who knows? Taking one more look at the sauce bottle in the refrigerator today might help someone eat more consciously tomorrow.